Hey everyone, my name is zzeroparticle, and welcome to an Anime Instrumentality unboxing. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the soundtrack to Daemon X Machina. Now for those of you who don't know, Daemon X Machina is a game that is released on the Nintendo Switch, and in it, you play a mercenary who pilots a mecha unit, and his role is to defend humanity against a rogue AI called the Immortals. Now the people behind the game include the producer Kenichiro Tsukuda, who has worked on games previously like Armored Core, and that explains why he was probably chosen to work on Daemon X Machina, because Armored Core is also a very mech-heavy franchise. The game itself is also published by Marvelous Incorporated. Now the soundtrack itself is what really catches my interest. It consists of 3 discs for a total of 45 tracks. And the composers on this list, on the soundtrack, are names that I'm kind of familiar with. For example, you have Junichi Nakatsuru, who has worked on the Soul Calibur franchise, as well as the Ace Combat franchise. We also have Rio Hamamoto, who's done work on Tekken, Toaki Usami, and Mitsuhiro Kitadani, who have done work on Idolmaster, and then a couple other names as well. Now, just based on the premise of the game, namely a guy in a mecha unit fighting against AI, so pretty much a sci-fi theme, I'd expect the music for this game to be closer to an Ace Combat rather than a Idolmaster. So you'll probably get a good representation of action tracks, so a lot of heavy guitar riffs to really amp you up, or maybe some orchestral fare that's like really smooth, really epic. So we'll find out what that looks like when I review the soundtrack, but because I do like to take a look at the soundtrack itself, the packaging, what's inside, why don't we just go open up this bad boy and let's take a look. Alright, so here is the CD for Daemon X Machina. As you can see from the cover, there is a picture of a mercenary which represents your character in the game. So let's see what we've got. So as I mentioned, the game contains about 3 discs, and there's a total of 45 tracks each. All of the tracks are written in English, so no translation issues needed if you're kind of curious as to what kind of mood or atmosphere the track in question is trying to represent. So we take off the cover. This is going to be the actual CD itself. You can see the Arsenal mech unit right behind the mercenary. So let's see here. All right, so disc 1, disc 2, and then disc 3. So they're all placed like so. And then we have the booklet, which is always the most interesting part of the soundtrack, at least in my view. So during the first page, we have, of course, the track list. And this one actually tells you who composed which tracks. So there's a lot more than just the composers that I mentioned. You have Yoshinori Hirai, Tsuyuri Misaki, as examples of those that I did not mention earlier. So here we're going to have some commentary from the producer. So up top, let's see, you have some commentary by Kenichiro Tsukuda, as well as game director Ken Iwata, another game director as well, Ken Karube. Also some words from the composers themselves. You have Junichi Nakatsuru, who has a couple thoughts there. Toaki Usami, as I mentioned, Rio Hamamoto over on this side, and Mitsuhiro Kitadani. Moving on, we have, of course, Yusuke Yamauchi, some work by Linda IQ. Then we have Sayuri Misaki, Yoshinori Hirai at the bottom. And then more composers, that would be Katsuro Tajima, and finally Hiroki Hashimoto. Now the thing that you should just know is that all these composers generally work for Bandai Namco. So they should be familiar if you've played games like Idolmaster, like Ace Combat, like Tekken. So hopefully this will give you an idea of what you can expect out of the packaging for Daemon X Machina. Hopefully I'll be able to get a review of the soundtrack in about a week, and stay tuned for that. Alright, hope you've enjoyed this unboxing. This is the Zero Particle, and I'll hope to see you when I go through the review for Daemon X Machina.